So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a fun, gregarious, outgoing phase. We're talking about prospecting and setting meetings in this phase. And that's why I thought, I'd come out here and I'd flex on you guys a little.
Wow.
Right? Because today I am wearing my Timex Snoopy. Right? Now, when things get real dark, right? When I'm feeling low, check that out. Check that out. Right? So I thought, considering it's module 1 of this new phase, where we're going to go out there, we're going to speak to some prospects, we're going to have some fun with it. I thought I would put on my lucky Timex Snoopy watch. So, with no further ado, let's get straight into today's module. Laws of outreach. So in today's teaching, we are going to go over principles and why they are more important than tactics, how to weather the storm following these laws, law of outreach number 1, outreach number 2, outreach number 3 law, 4th outreach law, using the outreach tracker, honing in on the outreach method that works for you, and finally, troubleshooting using KPIs in this program. Be timeless, not fickle. And let me explain what I mean by that. These days, everything is so fickle. Social media, fast fashion, even friendships, everything's so fickle, everything's so, everyone's looking for that new thing, that new exciting thing, right? Everyone is looking for something that's novel rather than something that's timeless. And guys, that applies to this industry. I've been in this industry for 5 years. And every, twice a year or once a year, there's something new that comes out, or, there's someone that comes out to WordWork and they're like, I have the secret method to achieve, to set meetings or to close clients or to get results or this or that. And you know what it is? Literally, I'm not even going to say 90% of the time, 100% of the time, it is just timeless concepts that are repackaged. You put a new spin on it, this method, right? It's always something punchy. And by the way, I guess that as marketers, that's what you do. But you can't fall for it, guys, right? You can't fall for these quick hacks, these quick tactics, because I said, these are literally just repackaged versions of the timeless concepts. And it's funny because people fall for it again and again and again, unfortunately. And that's how you get as well a lot of people who are course and coach junkies, because they always want that new flashy thing and they think the solution is always out there in some new program. So today's module is going to be one of the most important probably in this entire program, because as I said, I'm going to teach you the best of best tactics. I'm going to teach you tactics that you only get when you've been in this industry for 5 years. You've worked with the sort of clients that we worked with. When you have the sort of talent that I have, you're going to get the best tactics. All right. But if a tactic isn't working for you, you always need to come back to timeless principles. So if you're ever frustrated, if things are ever not going right for you when it comes to outreach, come back to the timeless principles I'm going to talk about in this module and then tweak using those. And ladies and gentlemen, remember, the best things in life are always timeless, whether that be cars, clothes, watches, or even advice. Usually the timeless ones are the ones that hold true, held true in the past, hold true today, and will hold true 50 years from now. So let's get into law number 1. Law number 1, and the most important thing you need to understand, is that you are selling the meeting, not the service. Okay. So really, to get, the entire sales process is a process of little baby steps, right? In the same way, when I'm really, really tired in the morning, for me, the thought of going to the gym, right? And every once in a while I have those days, right? Where the thought of waking up and going to the gym is so daunting that for me, I just need to baby step myself. And I go, man, look, just go and we'll get out of bed and brush your teeth. And if you're still feeling tired, you can go back to bed. And once I do that, I go, all right, man, go downstairs, drink a lot of water, put a hint of lemon in there. And if you're still feeling tired, go to bed, right? And then I go, man, just put on your gym clothes. And if you're still feeling tired after that, you can go back to bed, right? And I baby step myself, and then I've gone to the gym and I've had an incredible workout and I come back, right? And I did that by actually getting compliance from myself. Really, all signing a client is getting compliance, right? And baby stepping them to the meeting. And then after baby stepping them to the meeting, maybe baby stepping them to a second meeting, right? If you use a 2-call close method, which we'll get into right now or very shortly. And then from there, it's baby stepping them to the sale, right? And that's really all it is. So I see beginners make this mistake a lot. Right out of the gate, they'll start talking about their service, right? When they're doing cold calling, cold emailing, et cetera, and it scares off a lot of potential prospects. The only focus should be on selling the meeting. And once you've sold the meeting, then you can sell the service later down the line. Now, when we get into the irresistible angle and offer module coming up shortly, you're going to get a chance to really position your offer correctly. But the other thing that you need to keep in mind is, what angle am I using to get them on the meeting? Like why are they actually getting on the meeting, right? And I'm going to break that down and give you a couple different angles that you can use in the next module. But the main thing to focus on right now is just get a little bit of compliance from the client and get that meeting in the diary. So as I said, principle number one, law number one is you're selling the meeting, not the service. This printout is available. You can also make this a wallpaper as well if you want. This is available for download right below this video. So let's talk about law number two. And wow, is this an important one? Law number two is remove yourself from the cesspool and innovate. I thought this was something that was pretty self-explanatory, and I thought that, you know, someone that would be coming into, and this is nothing against, you know, people in past variations of the program, but I thought it would be obvious enough that, hey, if you come into a program, you can't just copy paste the messages, you know, the templates that are provided, because yes, this entire system is meant to alleviate as much strain from you as humanly possible, right? And as I said, there's stuff that is just copy paste, but there's stuff where you can take the templates, right? You can basically take the entire template. All you have to do is just pop open a thesaurus and reword it slightly, and at least you have enough variation to give yourself some sort of chance out in the marketplace. But, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people, they just take stuff, copy paste it, and just roll with it. Now, look, here's the thing. If you reach out to clients and you sound like every other agency out there, you will actually eventually get a client, right? Like, that's the funny thing. And this is one of the other laws that we're going to get into in just a second. If you do enough outreach, eventually you'll get a client. But why not make it easier on yourself? Now, on the flip side, some people think that, you know, innovation, they take it too seriously, right? They think that it needs to be you need to have some crazy USP when you're reaching out to clients. And by the way, USP means a unique selling proposition, I believe. Hopefully I haven't looked like a mug here, but that's not the case, right? You don't need this crazy USP. All you need is a differentiation when it comes to tone, when it comes to the way that you conduct yourself, when it comes to your sales process, when it comes to what is the actual reason that you get, you know, convince someone to get on a meeting with you. Now, here's the thing. All of this stuff will come to you over time, right? But at least the fact that you're conscious about it is good. At least the fact that, you know, unlike previously, you don't think that, hey, I can just take these templates and everything is a copy paste. Now, once again, there's other factors that play into it. If you are naturally super good, like let's say you're doing email outreach, you are naturally super good at copywriting, okay? Then you could pretty much take the same sort of angle that everyone else is using to, you know, to get them to a meeting, and you probably do well, right? Whereas if you're not good at outreach, then you may need a more sort of unique selling proposition to actually get them on the meeting, right? Your sales process might be a little different. So everyone has strengths and weaknesses, but at least the fact that this is, you know, something that's conscious to you, at least you know about it and you can keep it in mind. But copywriting, and I'm going to teach you a bunch of it very soon, both when it comes to outward facing and inward facing, as in like outward facing to get clients, and then also inward facing to bring, to actually service clients. Now, this skill is going to be so important for you, which is why I want you to, once I say this, pause the video and do this. In that same Google Drive folder, or, you know, just folder you have on your desktop, in that same folder where you have all of your Agency Navigator printouts, your sheets, anything like that, right? The SBA worksheet, whatever you may have in there. In that same folder, I want you to create a swipe file. Now, this is actually what I did for years and years when I first started learning copywriting. It was one of the reasons I was able to accelerate so quickly. Well, that plus the fact that I've always done a lot of reading. So anytime I would see a good ad on Facebook, now, as we mentioned before, we'll have Facebook Feed Eradicator there. So we won't really see stuff on Facebook anymore. But before I had Facebook Feed Eradicator, I do something like that. So instead, what you do is you go out and you subscribe to the newsletters and you subscribe to the email lists of a lot of really good marketers, right? So people who have online programs, or for example, just companies that are really good at marketing, right? So e-commerce businesses that are really good at marketing, service providers, supplement companies that are really good at marketing, right? And then go on the Facebook ads library and once again, search up some of these good marketers, marketing companies, e-commerce businesses, and just keep a folder and just download and screenshot all of the best pieces of copy you can find, right? because then this kind of trains you to look out for what does good copy look like? What does good direct response copy look like? And that's really what we're doing when we're doing outreach, right? And by the way, it doesn't matter if you're on the phone or you're cold emailing. What you are doing is direct response marketing, right? You are trying to elicit a response. You are putting a message out there in hopes that in return, you will get a response from them. Now, as I said, you're going to get world-class copywriting training in this program, but building that swipe file over the years will be an amazing resource that you have and something that you can always come back to. So ladies and gentlemen, this wallpaper is available below. Remove yourself from the cesspool and find your own voice. And as I said, this isn't something that you need to develop from day one, but the fact that it's something that's conscious to you, paired with all of the training that you're going to get very soon on outreach and how to find a good angle, how to find a good offer, how to actually structure and tailor your outreach, all this will come together. And as I said, it's something that will develop over time for you. Now let's get into law number 3. Now, law number 3 is very simple. Outflow equals inflow, right? As in the amount of outreach you do will dictate the amount of meetings that you set. And this is a concept that I read in a book many, many years ago. And it's really, I mean, if you had to digest a lot of the sales and prospecting books out there, you know, things like Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb something, you know, I'll get Tristan to pop up the book on the screen. But my point is, it's a very, very simple concept. And a lot of times we kind of forget this, because here's the thing. If you dial in all of the other laws that I'm telling you here, right? If you get them dialed in, at the end of the day, you could have them all perfect. But if there's not enough outflow, if you're not going out to the market and talking to the market enough, you're just not going to get enough meetings, right? So really, this is the one law where even if you're a 10 out of 10 in all the other laws, you're not going to get the desired result you want. And on the flip side, you could actually be very poor at all the other stuff and just be a 10 out of 10 in terms of your outflow, and you'll still actually get a good amount of meetings. So as I said, it is incredibly important to dial in your messaging, and all of the other laws are super important. But at the end of the day, this law is just raw horsepower, right? This is really a thing where even if all of your KPIs are dialed in, if you're not doing enough of this, you're just not going to get enough meetings. And it's as simple as that. Now, if you want a good indication as to, you know, what to expect, right, in future, if you want to know how much inflow you're going to get, if you want to know how many meetings you can expect that month, well, look at your past KPIs, look at your outflow and what sort of inflow that has brought in, right? You know, history doesn't repeat, but it usually rhymes. Okay, so you can look back historically to get an idea as to what sort of KPIs you need to be hitting in order to get the amount of inflow that you want. I'm actually going to show you guys how to use the outreach tracking tool, which is one of the proprietary software that we built out when we spent what felt like a living dream, right? It was just that 18 months that we worked on the platform, and it's still not even, you know, fully done yet. You know, similar to being the owner of a Tesla, there's updates coming out all the time, but yeah, it was one of the tools that was super important to me to build out. So I really stressed that to my team of developers at Grey Agency. So ladies and gents, as I said, you can download this right below this video. Outflow equals inflow. Let's get into law number 4. And law number 4 really is on that same point, which is track historically to predict the future. Okay. Now, I know for a lot of people, one of the things that kind of keeps them up at night is like, you know, I don't know how many meetings I'm going to get this month, et cetera, et cetera. Well, as I said, if you're doing proper tracking from day one, then you're not really worried about that, because, you know, on average for this form of outreach, and it can be different for, you know, different forms of outreach. And that's why the outreach tracker is built the way that it is because, you know, one form of outreach, you may need way more, you know, you may need much more volume to get the same amount of meetings as something where you need less volume, but then actually the amount of time that it takes, to put in for this form of outreach actually could be way less than this one, right? So, and this is why it's so important to track all this stuff, okay? I think the people who are most nervous about outreach are the ones who from day one, you know, just spray from the hip, do outreach, don't track anything. And of course, you know, you're nervous because you have no historical data to work off of as to, hey, I need to do this amount of outreach in order to get this amount, you know, I need this much of outflow in order to get this much inflow. And of course, you're nervous and you're like, where's the next client going to come from? Of course. And this is why I want you to track every single day using this outreach tracker that we built out here at Grey Agency, because it said, especially as time goes on and you have 3 months of data, 6 months of data, 12 months of data, 2 years of data, right? You know, historically, and you can also even see the peaks and troughs through different seasons of the year. And you can even see based on your niche, what are your quietest months? And you can even start to, plan those as months that, hey, maybe I want to take my annual leave. Well, I guess we don't really have annual leave. We work for ourselves, but like maybe that's when I want to do my holidays, right? Or maybe that's the time where I just want to take a step back and focus on service delivery, communication, and really just tie in all the processes with a team, right? So this is why this is so, so, so important. And I'm going to go ahead and demo it and present it to you guys in just a second. So as I said, track historically to predict the future. Now that we've talked about those key 4 laws, as I said, like everything, if there's a printout, it's there for a reason. I want you to either print this out, or the sort of the law that is most important to you right now, or the one that you need to keep in your mind and you feel as though you need to work on, set that as your desktop wallpaper. You can also download these and set them as wallpapers, okay? So whether you print it, whether you set it as your wallpaper, the most important thing is all of these lessons. When I go to the effort of making a wallpaper or a printout, it's because it's something that you really should keep in mind. So go ahead and print those out or set your wallpaper, whatever the case is. Now, apart from that, I'm actually gonna hop on the computer and I'm gonna go ahead and demo the outreach tracking sheet. I'm gonna show you how to use it and come in and use it every single day. So that way, as I said, you get to a point where, once you have 6 months, 12 months, 2 years of data, your business like the back of your hand, and hey, this little tweak amounted to more meetings here, and in these seasons usually we find we have less meetings. In this specific month we find we have less meetings, etc., etc. It's such a valuable tool. So ladies and gents, let's go ahead and show you the outreach tracker. So here it is. As you can see, this is the year summary. So as you fill out every single one of these specific months, it'll come here in the year summary, and you can see right here, you can also obviously go down and select a different year if it's if you're watching this and it's the next year or something like that. So here you have your year summary. So your year summary will show you from a high level every single month, and then it'll show you your overall year summary. So here, once we come to month view, you can see January, for example. Now here at the top, once again, guys, because it's not Agreeancy. Now we're not just an education company anymore. This is a program, software, and platform all mixed up into one. There's constant changes. So you can see right here, very similar to on the financial tracking sheet, you'll actually be able to change this now. So you'll be able to change this to, like, let's say you don't do any cold calling. So instead you want to have, these different, you basically want to go ahead and change these different forms of outreach. You'll be able to select it right here. So as I said, here if you're doing Loom, here if you're doing LinkedIn, and here if you're doing profile funnel, right? You can go ahead and change these as you wish. But let's say the 2 things that you are using is cold messaging, right? Cold messaging, and the other one you're doing is cold calling. Just an example, right? Here you'll go ahead and you'll set your temps. So let's say in a month you do, you average 30 a day, right? So you'll go ahead and you will press right here, 30 times 30. Let's go ahead and say 900, right? So you did 900 cold calls. You set from that, you managed to set 9 meetings, okay? And from that, you managed to close, let's say, 2 clients. Right, and let's say those clients were worth to you month 1. Let's say you signed 2 clients for $1,500 a pop, right? So that's a revenue $3,000. Okay, so you can see right here, attempt to meeting. So for every 100 cold calls you make, you set 1 meeting. Okay, and by the way, this isn't it's actually should be higher than this. You shouldn't have to make 100 cold calls to set 1 meeting, but just don't really focus on the numbers pertaining to the type here, okay? This is just an example, right? But you can see right here, this will tell you your attempts to meeting. This will tell you your meeting to client, right? So this is basically your closing, your conversion rate for this specific form of outreach, because you need to understand all of these numbers actually work downstream, okay? So, what I mean by that is for cold calling, you might actually bring in lower sort of average retainer clients. The revenue may be lower compared to cold messaging, where you might bring in more high ticket clients. Or let's say even the vice versa is the case. And let's say maybe cold calling, because they've already heard your voice initially, maybe your conversion rate is higher than cold messaging. And by the way, guys, apologies for here. Obviously, as you can see, at the time of recording this, it's still, the program's still in beta. And yeah, I'm sure most of you guys are empathetic to the fact that software is, you might see when I'm demoing stuff, you might see some little changes here and there, because what the devs have on their side compared to my side, and then eventually what you get is very, very different. So yeah, apologies if you see any glitches. Obviously, by the time that you get it, it will be as good as can be, and there won't be any of these glitches. But let's say right here, cold messaging, right? Attempts, let's say you do you speak to, in that case, you speak to 10 new prospects a day, right? Via Facebook, right? You build up a Facebook profile, you engage in groups, you message people, and let's say, you send out 10 messages a day, right? On average. So that's 300 a month. Let's say from that, you manage to set 12 meetings, okay? So you can see the attempt to meeting rate percentage right here is much higher because you spoke to 300 prospects and you were able to set 12 meetings, right? So let's say you added, between you adding and other people adding you, you managed to add 300 friends on Facebook. And then, from that, you sparked a bunch of conversations and you were able to set 12 meetings that month. Now, let's say you were able to close 4 clients, right? So you can see right here, the conversion rate for this one is higher and the meeting to attempt to meeting is higher. And let's say, these clients you signed for 4,000, right? So you can see right here that this brings in a better yield, okay? Because it has a higher attempt to meeting and it has a higher actual conversion rate. And then you can see on the side, this is your month summary, right? So this is between everything. And then when you come back here on your year, you will be able to see that, basically what was brought in, and you'll be able to see your historical year summary. So this is the outreach tracker. You should basically just have this in a different tab. You should just have this in a separate window, and every single day you come in, and obviously, by the way, ladies and gents, you can come in here and you can change your currency and stuff like that. And as I said, there will be some updates where you can actually change this. Like you can make this whatever you want. Like let's say you want this to be LinkedIn, cold messaging specific to Facebook, cold messaging specific to Instagram. There's many slots here, so you can kind of do whatever you want. But as I said, you should have this open in a tab, and every single time you speak to a new prospect, put that in. Or you can potentially even fill this in at the end of the day, because you'll have, you'll know, or you'll be able to look through the day, and you'll be able to figure out how much outreach you did that day. But this right here, this is such a powerful tool because, as I said, this will let you go back and you'll be able to see from a year view, hey, this is what I've been able to accomplish in terms of my outreach. Okay, and here's, if you're like, let me put it this way, right? If January, February, and March was incredible, and April, things were shit, you basically had no meetings. Well, then, and you look back and you went, hey, January and February, I was super diligent, super disciplined with outreach. And then because I was super diligent, I was like, oh, like I can kind of put my foot off the gas. In March, I put my foot off the gas. Well, you're not going to feel that in March. You're going to feel that in April. And then because you didn't get good results in April, then you can go back and go, oh, okay, well, duh, like obviously, like this is what happens when you don't stick to your discipline of outreach, right? This is what happens when your outflow isn't as good. Obviously, your inflow isn't going to be as good. And, March is not when you're going to feel it. April is really where you're going to feel that kick. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is so important. I really cannot stress this enough. So today's action step is I want you to create that swipe folder and subscribe to marketers or companies with a strong e-com presence and really just see what they are doing on that side of things, and just make a swipe file folder, and anything that you think is good advertising, is good direct response marketing, just go ahead and add that to your swipe folder. So ladies and gentlemen, a pretty short, punchy module today, but that's because I just want to get these key laws of outreach out to you. As I said, they're available for download below, so make sure you add that. The outreach tracking tool, make sure you add that to your bookmark bar so you can easily click on it at any time. And as I said, you can fill it out throughout the day when you're doing outreach, so you can see historically to predict the future. And that's pretty much about it for today's module. I think I'm probably going to keep this this puppy on for the rest of the day. I haven't worn it in like 6 months. Took it out of my watch case and literally the time was perfect. Actually, well, minus 1 hour because it was daylight savings. But yeah, that's one of the benefits of a quartz watch. This keeps better time than all my other Patek Philippe, Rolexes, Richard Mille, etc. Yeah, and yeah, just a 30-pound watch. So anyways, I'm gonna enjoy my time, geek out a little more about it, and I'll catch you guys in the next module.